Okay, so we are going to test the KTM 350 SXF versus the KTM 450 SXF. And the reason we're doing this is I kind of talked about it last video, and a few people mentioned they kind of wanted to see it. Was it better, or how does it compare? How does it stack up? So how it stacks up is it's actually pretty darn good. And these tests do not show how good it really is, I don't think. So we're on the 450 here. We're gonna run one lap. I was happy with the one that I got here at Arlington, and then we're gonna run 2 laps on the 350 because the first lap is kind of cheating. I actually hit a quad in the back section with all those tables, and I don't do that here on the 450. On the 350, we quad to that middle table, which is faster and allowed us to run a better lap time than the 450. So what I did was I went back and ran the identical lap, but instead of quadding, just double up onto that first table to give us a better reading. And it actually is a bit slower. I mean, not a lot, but it is slower than the 450 around the track. I mean, yes, my laps aren't perfect. They're not identical, but they are about as close as I can get without being able to completely... What would be really cool, and what I wanted to see, was to be able to run against your Ghost and then go to the garage and switch the bike up, but still leave the Ghost on that same bike. You know what I mean? Like, run it on the 450 and then switch in the garage to the 350, but race, like, just be able to do it like that. I mean, that's kind of what I want, but we just decided to, since we can't really do that, this is what we're doing instead. Unless you had it set up against your best lap time and you had run that on the 450, then maybe that Ghost would be running against the 450 time. I don't really know. I haven't done too much Ghost racing yet, so maybe that's an option. I'm not going to say it's not. I don't really know. So we could have done that, I guess, if it is an option, but we didn't. So, and here you can see that. That line is definitely faster. I know you're in the air and the way the physics are, they're kind of floaty, but that line is definitely a little bit faster because we were able to beat the 450 lap time, hitting that big quad. And then we're going to run 2 laps at Amber Ridge National because I wanted to run both indoors and outdoors just to give a better reading. And the lap times are really similar. I mean, we're talking... Here in Supercross, I think it was close to a second, not quite, a little bit under a second, but I mean, we're talking tenths of seconds here. It's really close, and it's deceiving. It's really deceiving. If you read like Motocross Action Magazine or Transworld Motocross or Racer X, when they test the bikes, the new bikes of the year, against each other, they stack them up, see how they're gonna do. You know, you get like the beginner rider, the intermediate rider, and the pro rider, and a lot of times, you know, they're kind of similar, but usually the best bike for one guy isn't the best bike for the other one. And then you'll read the article a little bit more in depth, and you'll get the guys that are saying that, for instance, this is just an example, okay? I'm not saying that anybody said this specifically, but you'll get the guys that say that, oh man, yeah, I felt so good on that Yamaha. I mean, it just felt so good. But their lap times were actually better on, say, the KTM. Okay, so they actually ran faster on the KTM, but they felt better on the Yamaha. Does that make sense? That's how it feels with this 350. I mean, in Encore, it felt different, but I never felt like I wanted to use it. I always preferred the 450 or the 250, and I didn't see a lot of guys, you know, using the 350. So it's deceiving. The 350 feels better. Now, both bikes are set up identical, and I don't know if you want to necessarily do that, but I did for the sake of testing the bikes. They're set up identical. They're both upgraded exactly the same. I mean, like fully upgraded. And I ran them on the same track trying to hit the same lines. It feels better. The 350, I mean, maybe it's in my head. Maybe it's in my head, but it feels better. They sound the same. I mean, it sounds closer to the 450 than the 250. Maybe there's a slight difference, but I don't really notice it. So the 350 to me feels better. I know that it's a little bit slower, and where I really feel the difference isn't so much necessarily just the handling. It feels like it's easier to come out of a corner and hit the big line. So say you got to come out of a corner. You really got to rail the corner to hit the quad or the triple. And on the 450, a lot of times it's still, once in a while, you just don't get the lift. It just doesn't do what you think it's gonna do. On the 350, it works like every single time. And I don't feel like I have to rail the outside to hit the same big line. Does that make sense? So think of it this way. You might be running a few tenths of a second slower on the 350, but you're gonna be hitting those big lines like every single time, pretty much. I mean, people always make mistakes, but you're gonna be hitting those big lines, I think, easier than you are on the 450. On the 450, you're probably faster, but you might mess up that big line, and then you'll make all that time back on the 350 by hitting it every single lap. So consistency on the 350, I think, is much more possible, more achievable than it is on the 450. I don't know about the 252 stroke or anything like that. I mean, the 500 handles pretty bad, I think. I'm not a big fan of the 500. But not comparing it to that, I think the 350 handles as good or better than anything else out there. Again, I didn't really test it to the 2 strokes or anything, but against the 450 and the 250, I think it handles as good or better than both of them. And it's like the torquiness. It's like it has almost more torque, more low end than the 450, and for sure the 250. It's weird. I don't know. That's how it feels. I don't know if they're gonna patch that and change that, or if it's supposed to be like that to kind of balance it out, but it definitely feels different. And I like it. I actually think I prefer the 350 over the 450. Now that's just me, okay? This is just my opinion. Okay, so if you're looking to buy one and you buy it and you're not happy, I'm not saying you're gonna be happy. I'm just saying that's how it feels for me. And then we throw in some free riding here because I actually had a free ride video, but it didn't come out the way I wanted it to, and I know some people are asking for it, so we do a little free riding here, and you can kind of see. I know people are like, there's no water animation. There actually is some water animation. I mean, it's subtle. There's like, you can see the water spin off of the tire, and then when we go underwater, you can hear it. So it doesn't happen on like the mud puddles on the track, which is unfortunate. I think they've said they're gonna add that in, but right now their main concern is just fixing performance. But yeah, I mean, I would like to see it. It's the little things that make a game, you know, like that separate a game. So hopefully we can get that added in at a later date, but yeah, I don't know. The 350, much better bike than I thought it was gonna be, and I think it's worth checking out. Now, I know people are unhappy about the DLC. They're like, oh, we need to fix the game. Well, the bikes were actually in the game. I mean, it is DLC, but the bikes were in the game. It's not like, technically, it's not like a total add-on because it's not like you have to download it. It's just unlocking it in the game already. So it was there. It's not like, I mean, this was planned from the start that they were going to have it. I'm not defending him, okay? I'm not trying to argue with anybody here. I'm just saying that, you know, if you're going to pick up a bike, I think the 350 is worth looking into. Also, the prices are the same as they were in Encore. I mean, when did we even, I think Untamed, we've had like the Nordic Rainbow bike basically, not the like real manufacturer bikes or anything like that. So, and then in Alive, I think, is when you could start buying skins for the bikes. So I don't know what they were in Alive. I mean, I have a couple, but I don't remember how much I paid for them. I thought they were $2, maybe they were $3, but they're the same price they were essentially in Supercross Encore. If you're not happy with it, that's fine. If you don't want to buy them, totally cool. I really don't care. I'm not trying to sell it to you. I'm just saying, if you're gonna buy a bike, this 350 actually is pretty freaking sweet. If you were gonna choose between this or the 450, I'm not so sure that this isn't better than the 450. I know it doesn't show it on lap times, but it feels good, in my opinion. If you happen to have it, let me know in the comments what you think about it. See how it stacks up against how I think it feels. But you guys and girls are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for the support on the channel lately. It really does mean a lot. And until the next video, take it easy.